Coming up on the latest edition of Aztec Football with Rocky Long, your Aztecs took down the ranked Sun Devils 28-21, improving to a 2-1 overall record. Get an exclusive breakdown of the game with insights from the head coach.
We've been lucky around here with good running backs that follow each other. You know, they back up for a while and then they become the guy, and then now he's got to back up too.
And Ron Smith shares what separated SDSU from other schools during his recruitment process.
When you walk in as a recruit, he'll tell you straight up, you are not going to like your life with me all the time.
Plus, we'll preview Eastern Michigan, the Eagles, in the film room.
And I want you to notice the stalemate at the line of scrimmage. There's no movement whatsoever.
And we take a look at Juwan Washington's rise in the national rankings. All that and more is next on the latest edition of Aztec Football with Rocky Long. Welcome to Aztec Football with Rocky Long. I'm Rich Ohrnberger, sitting alongside the head coach. And Rocky, what a game. What a game against Arizona State. Congratulations. Who was the MVP of the night?
It was probably several people. You know, I don't know, the last hit that Trenton Thompson got kicked out of the game for, that was a pretty important play. You know, I mean, it should have never come down to that if we don't fumble the ball. And if you look at replay, he did not fumble. He was down before the ball came out. We would have been taking a victory knee, you know, but since we didn't and they came back and made a hell of a game of it, it was kind of nervous at the end.
The running game was the highlight of the night. Your offensive line did a great job paving the way for Juwan Washington, then Chase Jasmine. What do you credit that to?
Well, I think that they did some things we had actually practiced and prepared for. You know, Coach Horton and the staff did a nice job of going back and looking at film and all the things we do in spring practice and fall camp, and they prepared that way. And then I think the offensive line was trying to make a statement because the week before they did not play very well, and they were playing a better opponent, and they played very well.
My MVP of the night, the O-line. Yeah, I mean, they really showed out. I enjoyed watching it. Defensively, against this Arizona State offense, they almost used the passing game like a run game, getting it out to the sidelines, having your defense run. How frustrating did that get early on, especially when they were advancing the ball down the field?
Well, in the first half, it's a little frustrating. I mean, because there's not a lot you can do about it. I mean, if you've got five guys that can play man coverage and shut people down, you can give them all kinds of problems. But if you've got one matchup that's a bad matchup for you, it forces you to play zone, and then it forces you to play over the top of things. And so they can throw those bubble screens and those hitches out there, and before a DB gets there, the guy's got 4 or 5 yards, and if he makes the DB miss, then it could be a big play.
Juwan Washington, another incredible night. I mean, 3 performances in a row. The offensive line did a nice job for him, but he's doing all the legwork in the backfield.
Well, I mean, he's proven that he's a good running back too. I mean, we've been lucky around here with good running backs that follow each other. You know, they back up for a while and then they become the guy. And then now he's got to back up too because Juwan hurt his toe a little bit, and we think he'll be fine for Saturday. Chase Jasmine came in and showed that he can play too, you know, so we got 2 good running backs back there like we always have, and that's a good thing to have.
That's a really good thing to have, and Agnew can play a little quarterback as we're finding out. How big of a surprise, though, was it? When Chase got in the game, it looked as good or better.
I don't think it was a surprise, but the first year he was here, we were nervous that he wouldn't take it up between the tackles. But after last season, in spring practice and everything, we found out that he was really a good running back and willing to take it up in there, and that's what you saw on Saturday.
The word that comes to my mind when I think about Ryan Agnew against Sacramento State in the second half, and again, all game long against Arizona State, is composure. He handled the moment really well for you guys when you needed him the most. How about Ryan's night?
Well, I thought he did really well, and obviously the 2-minute drive right before halftime was as good as it can get, you know, where we score and tie it up. And that, I mean, that just shows that he's ready to be the quarterback.
Another highlight, John Barron, Mountain West Special Teams Player of the Week. Well-deserved honor. He got his career long. Your faith in John as a kicker, what is that discussion like on the sideline?
Well, I ask him if he can make it. If he says yes, we send him in. If he says no, we don't send him in and we punt it. So I asked him if he could make it, and he said sure. I mean, we're going the right direction in our stadium, but he could have made that from 60.
The Aztecs are home this Saturday, 7:30, so make sure to get your tickets at goaztecs.com. Coming up, we're going to break down the big win over the ranked Sun Devils.
I turned out there and I thought this might be the turning point in the game. Thank goodness for instant replay.
And still to come, get an inside look at Rocky Long's preparation for the Eagles.
Very few people are stopping that stuff. You just have to control them a little bit and have a chance to outscore them.
Aztec Football with Rocky Long is presented by Kaiser Permanente. Thrive.
Arizona State came to town with the numbers, naming them the top run defense in the country, and your Aztecs ran all over them, rushing for 311 yards and averaging 5.4 yards per carry.
Jawan broke out, 5 broke out, gone! Touchdown! Jawan, Washington!
San Diego State outrushed Arizona State by 275 yards, its largest margin against a nationally ranked school in D1 history.
Chase Jasmine, left tackle, putting the ball forward to the goal line. Touchdown! Aztecs!
The win improved Rocky Long to a 4-1 record against Pac-12 teams since 2016 and marks the first time in Aztecs history where they've beaten ranked teams in consecutive seasons. And let's have a look at the game against Arizona State. Your offense had quite a night.
Well, I'll tell you what, we have some really good running backs, obviously, with Jawan Washington. Now everybody knows Chase Jasmine. Now you'll see Ryan Agnew shift our tight end here. This is because he's reading the front, and we want to outflank him on this side. But what I really want to show you on this play is the blocking. This is unbelievable. You'll see a double team right here, and we'll look at this from the tight angle because it's unbelievable. The double team here up to the linebacker, and they actually put the defensive lineman on his back. Now you'll see our right tackle, Ryan Pope, he'll come, and he's cutting off the backside pursuit, and in this case, it's a safety. Now Ryan's about 6'7" and about 340 pounds, maybe not quite that much, 325 or something, and watch what he does to this poor DB back here. He just pushes him and throws him right on his back. So we got a safety on his back, we got a defensive lineman on his back, we got a great block right there, and a fullback leading Jawan through the hole. Now, there's a lot of running backs could score with that kind of blocking, even though Jawan's really good, and then he gets in the end zone. Let's watch it from the tight angle because this is pretty nice. It's different than you see most of the time in the power of the offensive line right here. You see a double team right here, and the guard will leave him to the tackle. Once he gets him on the tackle, he'll leave him on the tackle, and he'll go up to the next level. So he goes up to the next level, and he screens off the linebacker. What's happening to this poor defensive lineman here that got double teamed? He's going right on his back. You see that right there. And then you see the center cut off the backside linebacker. You see the fullback come through, and there's nobody for him to block. Now, poor old safety, I don't know what his name is, but poor old safety's getting hit by the 6'7" Ryan Pope, and you see him go right on his back right here. This is really fun to watch if you're the guys doing it. And right on his back right here. So this was an easy touchdown for the running back.
Let's take a look at another great play from Saturday night.
All right, now we'll see how well Ryan Agnew did. Obviously, we're shifting some people over to try to, in this case, we're using Kahale Waring to attract one of these guys. So obviously, they're combo and covering this. So he attracts a corner, which puts Tim Wilson on their safety. Now, Tim Wilson's a great big guy. He's 6'4", probably 210 pounds or so. And the safety is being smart. He's between Tim and the quarterback. But this is a great throw by Ryan Agnew as he puts it over the safety, and then Tim, with his height, goes up and catches the ball for the touchdown.
Now let's take a look at the Aztecs on defense. What stood out to you?
We gave up some pass plays and obviously made the game exciting at the end, but we had a couple of short yardage situations. This is 3rd and 1. And you'll notice we're in a 5-man front. We don't change our defense. What we do is take a safety. This is Parker Baldwin right here that's usually playing back here. We drop him up and play him as a linebacker. So we look like everybody else, okay? But really, these are 2 defensive backs up here playing linebacker for us. Now, the front does a nice job. You'll see the front right here hold the line of scrimmage. And you'll see Parker right here take a chance. You'll see a gap right there, and they have a blocker for him, but those guys are looking outside, and both Chiava, Tazzino, and Parker take a chance to stop this for less than 1 yard gain. And obviously his quickness and speed, you see both of them going downhill, attacking the line of scrimmage. He hits them in the backfield, and they have to punt. And you see it from the tight angle, and you'll see the defensive lineman do a nice job of not losing ground, which allows both these guys to attack downhill at the line of scrimmage. And then Parker's quick enough that he beats the block, and that's a very nice play.
Let's take another look at a defensive play from Saturday night.
Okay, now you're going to see. Now this is a blitz. We blitz a lot, and you'll see us bring Trenton Thompson right here off the edge. So it's a safety blitz with some inside stunning too. Okay, and what he does is does a great job, and we'll look at this on the tight angle. We got a double A-gap blitz. Okay, we're bringing two linebackers. They're crisscrossing, but they're both going to the A-gap. So what we're trying to do is a lot of people man protect, and if you bring both A-gap blitzers, that will attract the back. Well, this time it doesn't, and the back is going to pick up the safety, but the safety, Trenton, does a great job coming hard, dipping his shoulder underneath the running back, and gets in there to get the quarterback. Now, I don't know why the officials don't call this down. They don't blow the whistle, and I turned out there and I thought this might be the turning point in the game. Thank goodness for instant replay.
Well, yeah, and when something like that happens, how far off the sideline are you talking to these referees?
Well, I actually saw the sack and I started looking around, to put the punt return team, help put the punt return team in, and then I heard the crowd go crazy, and then I looked up and saw the quarterback running with the ball. Okay, now let's look at the tight angle. Double A gap blitz, we're trying to attract him, which it doesn't work this time, and he goes to the safety. Now watch Trenton dip his shoulder, come hard, dip his shoulder, go right through the running back and sack the quarterback. That's really a good play.
Oh, something I noticed about your linebackers and even your secondary players, at the line of scrimmage, they actually utilize pass rush moves. Is that something you rep?
Yeah, we do it all the time in practice, and our DBs probably are better pass rushers than some of our other guys because they always get one-on-one instead of getting double teamed.
Game over. Aztecs beat Arizona State for the second consecutive year.
Coming up, we're going to scout the Eagles with Rocky Long in the film room.
And I want you to notice the stalemate at the line of scrimmage. There's no movement whatsoever.
And still to come, find out why Ron Smith chose SDSU.
When you walk in as a recruit, he'll tell you straight up, you are not gonna like your life with me all the time.
And be sure to enjoy all of the great Aztec events coming up here on the Mesa.
San Diego State has had the top individual rushing leader in each of the past 2 seasons. Both of those players, Donnell Pumphrey and Rashad Penny, are now in the NFL. Through the first 3 games so far this season, Juwan Washington is climbing the ranks, currently in 4th in the FBS with 150.7 rushing yards per game. The Aztecs are 2-1 and preparing for another exciting home game this Saturday against Eastern Michigan. So make sure to get your tickets at goaztecs.com, and we join the head coach in the film room to preview the Eagles. Now let's turn our attention to Eastern Michigan. The Eagles, offensively, they employ 2 quarterbacks. How challenging is that?
Well, that's really hard, especially if they have different abilities. This is their starter, number 12. He's big, strong. He can run with it. He doesn't really want to. So when you get a zone read, you don't have to worry about him keeping the ball as much. And we'll see the other quarterback, number 9, here in a second. But what I want you to see here is they are gigantic up front. We're pretty big on our offensive line too, but they're really big in their offensive line. They're big at tight end. So they can bring a tight end, and this is basically a 2-back running game that they can run. Now this is just a zone play, but you'll see the movement that they get and the blocking, and we'll look at it at the tight angle where this is Purdue, which is a Big Ten team. They will knock this defensive line back. They'll get a guy on a guy, and then they've got some skilled guys at receiver and at running back. So let's go to the tight angle, and we'll see. Like I told you, there's not a guy there that's shorter than 6'4". There's not a guy there that's less than 308 pounds. So now Purdue's stunning a little bit up here, but you'll see them pass this off with the center and the guard to get the linebacker. The other guard or tackle will take the linebacker here. And right there, as we saw big holes, that's a this guy can go either way, and this is obviously the biggest hole. So if they get that kind of blocking, they can run the ball.
Now watching them on film, they look physical. Yeah, could this be the most physical game you played defensively?
I think so. You can relate it to the last 2 years we played Northern Illinois. They're in the same league. They are very physical and very tough. So we're going to have to be ready to go. Now, they run the spread like almost everybody in college football, which allows them one-on-one situations with receivers. Now, you notice that they keep their tight end in here and their back in here. So this is max protection. They're only sending 3 receivers out, and this is what's called quarters coverage, okay? So these guys are both one-on-one here, and if you don't get pressure on the quarterback, this is number 9, the other quarterback, if you don't get any pressure on the quarterback, this poor guy right here is isolated. That poor guy right there is isolated. They have no help. They're trying to get a little underneath help here, but they have receivers that can beat you one-on-one. As you see this receiver right here, set up the DB by looking inside and taking a couple quick steps inside, and when the DB's eyes go back to the quarterback, then he releases around him to the outside. Now, we want him isolated, so this guy out here will stop so that this guy is all by himself with over half the field to cover. Now, the quarterback does a nice job, puts it right on the money. The receiver's good enough and quick enough and fast enough to take it in the end zone. So everybody's having trouble with this. I mean, we are too. It's not just us. Everybody's having trouble with this spread offense and the passing game.
Now let's take a look at the Eagles on defense. Coach?
Well, as most teams in the MAC, they have great big guys at the line of scrimmage on offense and great big guys on the line of scrimmage on defense. This is, again, Purdue, who probably has a lot of big guys too, and this is a short yardage play, and I want you to notice the stalemate at the line of scrimmage. There's no movement whatsoever, which makes it very difficult on the running back in a short yardage play to find a hole. And obviously they have a guy in a forced position that will trigger once he sees the ball handed off. Okay, so he triggers. So this guy wants to cut back because he sees the line of scrimmage controlled here. He wants to cut back because there's a little movement right there. But the guy triggering off the edge makes it impossible for him to cut back, and then he hits a stone wall right there, and it's 3rd and 2, and they don't get the first down. So physically and toughness-wise, they're as good as anybody will play all year.
Coming up, we hear from Ron Smith on the reasons why he chose SDSU.
When you walk in as a recruit, he'll tell you straight up, you are not gonna like your life with me all the time.
And get an inside look at Rocky Long's preparations for Eastern Michigan.
Very few people are stopping that stuff. You just have to control them a little bit and have a chance to outscore them.
Aztec Football with Rocky Long is presented by Kaiser Permanente. Thrive.
Wearing number 17, cornerback Ron Smith chose San Diego State out of St. Mary's High in 2016.
So out of the schools that I wanted to go to, San Diego State just popped out to me as a place that I could really thrive and excel at. Just from the location of the school, I could see the tradition changing when it comes to athletics, and also just seeing the honesty of the coaching staff and saying it's not going to be easy. We're not going to sugarcoat anything. We're not going to babysit you. We're going to work, and from that mindset, we're going to win games. It's definitely one of the most honest coaching staffs that you could ever find. They'll tell you, especially Coach Hall, when you walk in as a recruit, he'll tell you straight up, you are not going to like your life with me all the time. And just hearing that honesty and understanding that it was going to be difficult and we were going to have to work for everything that we received, that really stood out to me because that's something that I've been living by my entire life in athletics.
Welcome back to Aztec Football with Rocky Long. I'm Rich Ohrnberger alongside the head coach, and let's just review real quickly ASU and moving forward, things that you'd like to see the team improve upon.
Well, I think we got to make some more plays in coverage, and I say that every week. But with the spread offenses that we're seeing, you watch it on TV, you watch it on film, very few people are stopping that stuff. You just have to control them a little bit and have a chance to outscore them. The only way to really stop it is to have 5 guys that can play straight man coverage and shut them down, and there's not very many people out there with 5 guys that can play man.
Up next, it's Eastern Michigan coming to SDCCU Stadium, 7:30 kick this Saturday. And they beat Purdue, and then they went and they lost to Buffalo. So who are these guys?
Well, they're very explosive on offense. They use 2 different quarterbacks. They've got some quality wide receivers. They're gigantic up front on the offensive line, and they move the ball against everybody. Move the ball very, very well. I think they're averaging 36 points and 450 yards a game. On defense, they've struggled to stop the run, which might be a good sign for us, but they've hung in there. Their defense has hung in there where they had a chance to win. Last week, the Buffalo offense was just a little more explosive than their offense. Neither defense played well.
You know, and speaking specifically about the offense, are they spreading it out just like everyone else seems to be doing, just like the Sun Devils did last week?
It's very similar, very similar. The quarterbacks have 2 different personalities, where Arizona State's quarterback was all of it. He could throw it and run with it. They've got a guy that likes to run with it, and he throws it okay, and then they've got a guy that throws it pretty good and doesn't really want to run with it, but he will if you make him.
So they have 2 quarterbacks. They play them both. How frustrating as a defensive coordinator. You're calling the plays into these guys. Depending on what quarterback's in there, it's a lot to keep track of.
It's hard, but it's not that difficult because you have a variety of defenses you've run all year long and all through fall camp and all that. So you can go to a different package depending on which quarterback's in the game.
Now, from a defensive standpoint, Eastern Michigan, pretty vanilla as far as what I've seen so far. Like to run that 4-3 against personnel you guys use. What are you expecting out of them this weekend?
Well, that's what I think we'll see. I mean, they're big, strong guys, and I relate it to us playing Northern Illinois the last 2 years. They're about the most physical and tough team that we played both of those years, and that's kind of what you get from the MAC. I mean, they don't get the guys that are highly recruited, but they get a bunch of big, strong guys that like to play football, and that's kind of, we pattern ourselves that way too. It ought to be a heck of a game.
You know, the kicking game, it's important. Every head coach has told me that. You guys have a great kicker, but they have a really good one too, and their punter as well. How important and how much will that factor Saturday night?
Well, I think it makes a big difference. I think it really helped us this last game. Field position, our punter did a great job, and then obviously I already mentioned John and his field goal and kicking off. They only had, you know, we did it on purpose. We drilled it down there so they had to pick it up, but otherwise he kicked it deep in the end zone, and their guy came out from the 8-yard line, and we got great field position for our defense. So I think the field position's a big factor.
The Aztecs and the Eagles go head-to-head this Saturday at 7:30. So head over to goaztecs.com and get your tickets to cheer on the red and black. That's going to do it for this week, and thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time on Aztec Football with Rocky Long.